You think you understand what slavery looked like in history. You've learned about the Atlantic slave trade, seen the films, memorized the timelines, and absorbed the horror. But what if everything you were taught was only a fragment? What if there existed a system of human exploitation that lasted not for centuries but 14? A system so efficient, so thorough, that it didn't just enslave people, it erased entire civilizations from memory. This story isn't hidden because it lacks evidence. It's hidden because it's uncomfortable. The records exist in imperial archives, legal texts, travel accounts, and archaeological sites spread across 3 continents. What's missing is the willingness to talk about them. For more than 1,000 years, from the early medieval period to the modern age, entire regions of Europe, Africa, and Asia were systematically drained of people. Children were taken as state policy. Men were mutilated for profit. Women were sold into permanent sexual captivity. Communities weren't conquered overnight. They were slowly dismantled using law, taxation, and bureaucracy. Imagine a knock on the door. Not for school. Not for conscription. For your child forever. Across the Balkans, Christian families lived with this reality for centuries. Ottoman officials would arrive unannounced. Church bells rang not for prayer, but as warnings. Boys were dragged into village squares, examined like livestock, and selected based on strength, intelligence, and physical perfection. This wasn't chaos. It was administration. Parents begged. Some bribed. Some attacked soldiers in desperation and were beaten in front of their sons. Others maimed their own children to make them unfit for selection. A broken finger was mercy. Blindness was protection. Anything was better than permanent loss. Those children were stripped of language, religion, and identity. Renamed, re-educated, rebuilt into soldiers and officials trained to serve the empire that destroyed their families. Some rose to immense power. A few even returned to command campaigns against the very regions they came from. The system didn't just take bodies, it rewired minds. Whole villages collapsed within a generation. Without sons, fields went unplanted. Lineages ended. Archaeology shows homes abandoned midlife, tools left behind, churches left to decay. Not destroyed by war or plague, but by demographic extraction. While children were being taken, adult men faced a fate even more lethal. Across North Africa and the Middle East, an industrial system developed around human mutilation. Castration centers processed thousands every year. Mortality rates reached catastrophic levels. 9 out of 10 didn't survive. This wasn't ignorance. Medical knowledge existed to make the procedure safer. High death rates were accepted because survivors were more valuable. Accounting records survive. Ledgers calculate profit margins based on expected deaths. Human loss was listed as operational cost. Caravans crossed deserts knowing most captives would die before arrival. Those too weak to continue were killed to preserve efficiency. Archaeologists still find skeletons in chains along ancient trade routes. These aren't symbols. They are evidence. Women faced a different annihilation. Across centuries, millions were trafficked specifically for sexual slavery. Ports operated openly. Markets sorted girls by age, appearance, and origin. Adolescents were the most valuable. Entire ethnic groups became associated with forced concubinage. Palace records list women as inventory. Ages, health status, intact. Suicide, murder, and forced abortions were routine. Children born into captivity were often killed or absorbed into the system. Names vanished. Lineages ended. No descendants remained to remember them. This is why this history feels invisible. Atlantic slavery, for all its brutality, left communities, descendants, voices. This system was designed to leave nothing behind. Castrated men, enslaved women, dead children, erased languages, extinct religions. Economic warfare completed the destruction. Non-Muslim communities were subjected to taxation levels that made survival mathematically impossible. Not profits, harvests. Families starved while records noted declining future revenue due to dead children. Conversion became the only rational choice. Even then, Inheritance laws ensured cultural extinction over generations. Civilizations weren't conquered in battles. They were bled dry, slowly, efficiently, quietly. Zoroastrianism, once dominant across Persia, was reduced to a scattered remnant. Sacred fires extinguished, priests executed, texts burned. Buddhism vanished from Central Asia entirely. Libraries burned for months. Millions of books lost. Languages like Coptic, direct descendants of the language of the pyramids, fell silent forever. This wasn't accidental history. It was policy. So why don't you learn this? Because the victims left no descendants to demand memory. Because discussing it is politically dangerous. Because funding, diplomacy, and fear shape curricula more than evidence. The archives exist. The documents exist. The silence is intentional. History isn't just what happened. It's what survives. And sometimes survival depends not on truth, but on who is left alive to tell it. If a system can operate for 14 centuries, erase millions, extinguish civilizations, and still be largely absent from public memory, then the most disturbing question isn't what happened back then. It's what else we've been trained not to see.